Have you ever wondered where the best place in the UK was to start investing? Or rather, have you actually tried to find a place that would be a great investment and then after searching and searching you just gave up? Well, you've come to the right place. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can find your next location to invest in and turn it into your investment hotspot. I'm going to break down the process I use in a step-by-step manner to help you understand what to look for in an investment hotspot. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Anita and I've been a real estate investor here in the UK for almost 7 years now. I have a very successful property portfolio that returns 12% above and close to 100 tenants. And I'm going to be sharing some of my strategies with you today. So in order to find my investments, I have a variety of sources that I use, and I often receive emails like this from sourcing agents who send me a variety of deals from across the country that show you what type of property, where it's located, the postcode, what the asking price is, what the actual market value is, as well as the current rental income and a potential rental income. And while this is great and it's nice to see all of these deals come in, it doesn't really help if you're just starting out and you're looking for an area to invest in, because more often than not, they send you a variety of different deals from several different locations. That doesn't really help you choose. Yes, you may find one good property, but that could be the only property in that location. How do you actually pick a location where you can find multiple good deals one after the other and actually build your portfolio? And just so you guys know, it is always recommended to have just one location, maximum 2, that are your property hotspots, because if you have more than that, it's going to be very difficult for you to be everywhere at once, managing multiple different properties in multiple different locations, and also economies of scale. It's much easier to have one managing agent, one repair team, one council to liaise with, and one area where all your problems are, rather than having them spread out all across the country. Trust me, it becomes a nightmare. Also, the rules vary from council and council, so instead of having to familiarize yourself with multiple different rules and different councils and different regulations, it helps you have just one location that you're very familiar with and you have good relations in. So I'm going to break down how to find your property hotspot. The first step is essentially deciding on what type of property you want to invest in. So this could be a normal buy-to-let or an HMO, or it could be a commercial conversion project if you're a more advanced investor or you're looking for more of a challenge, or it could be a flip where you buy a rundown property and you do it up and then you sell it for a profit. So it could be a variety of different things, and it's up to you to decide what investment type works for you and what you would feel comfortable with. And if you're just starting out, it's always best to just go for the standard buy-to-let and try your hand at that first. So with a buy-to-let, it could literally be anywhere in the country. You don't have to worry too much about it. However, with an HMO, you have to be slightly pickier in your locations to ensure that the entire house rents out and you don't have vacancies. So for HMOs, it's good that if it's in a popular student town or in a larger city that's very busy. And with a flip, you're basically looking for a cheap house that is not so good conditions, you can get a good deal on, but in a very good location, so that once you do it up, you can sell it like that and sell it for a premium cost, of course, and recover your money and make a profit. And with a commercial conversion, you need to ask yourself what the end goal is, if you're going to turn it into multiple self-contained flats, multiple little studios, or turn it into one massive HMO. So know your objective going in and know the type of property you're looking for. And the next step is to define what your strategy is. And by this, I mean, do you want to benefit from rental income month on month from the day you close and buy the property, or are you more of a capital gains type of person where you don't mind investing a certain amount of money now and then and selling the property 10 years down the line and then making a huge profit? So know your strategy before you go. And the third is to decide on your budget. So if you're just starting out, you might want to try your hand at a 1 or 2 bed standard buy-to-let that isn't too expensive, that you could rent out to either a family or a working professional. And as you saw in the earlier email that I showed you, you could get for a 2-bed house that costs around 117,000, around a 6.6% return, and this is for a standard 2-bed buy-to-let. And this 6.6% is a pretty standard buy-to-let return, and it's really not a bad place to start. Also, another advantage of buy-to-let is that in general they tend to be much cheaper than HMOs, so really great for a first-time buyer to try their hand on with minimal capital and with minimal risk. And the reason they're cheaper is simply because they have less upfront costs, so less work needs to be done than HMO, and they're also smaller in size, which lowers the cost. HMOs in Liverpool, for example, can cost upwards of 200,000, and the return for them tends to be around 9% upwards. Flips get slightly more complicated because oftentimes you buy a property in the auction with minimal information. Sometimes you can't even go in and have a look at the property. So what happens is when you buy it, you might actually be opening Pandora's box, where once you turn the keys, you enter the house and the condition is much worse than you expected it to be. So your great deal property that you bought for around 50k on auction, you might end up spending around 100k just on the refurb to turn it into a livable property. And this only makes sense if the properties in that area sell upwards of about 160, 170, so that first you can recover the money that you spent, and second, to make a tidy profit on it. Also, another thing to keep in mind with flips and commercial conversions is that planning permission is most often needed, which might mean your entire dream project could be quashed if the council doesn't support your dream vision. So research the area first, see if other properties in the area have also had planning permission improved and have undergone similar refurb projects, and also it's worth contacting the council first to see what the likelihood of you actually getting your planning permission approved is before you buy the property. And also, because it's Pandora's box, the costs might just keep adding up once you get started with the refurb project, as you discover more and more things are wrong with the property that you didn't know before. So here's where it's worth investing in a good team of people beforehand who you trust to refurb your house. And for this, it's worth contacting several different contractors, interviewing them, seeing their reviews, seeing evidence of their previous work in photographs or testimonials, and of course getting an idea of the timeline for the proposed works, and of course getting a proposal for the cost of the works, the payments plan to the contractors, and also making it clear outright what is or isn't going to be provided, so like paint, equipment, etc. And with any project, it's worth having a realistic timeline in mind. So what you may want done in 2 months, or what a contractor can promise will be done in 2 months, might even turn out to be a 6-month long project. So have realistic expectations, and in this economy things might take longer than they used to. Start off with your end budget in mind. This is super important because the amount you spend upfront is what determines the percentage of return you get in the end. If you overspend upfront, your return is going to be lower in the end, and you always tend to make the biggest profits and the biggest gains upfront when you have low upfront costs. And this is even more important for towns where you don't have much capital growth, because if you overspend at the start and you want to sell in a few years' time and you've already priced the house at the maximum a person is willing to pay, it's unlikely you will be able to make a profit or even recover the money that you've already spent, simply because the market is just not there yet. So once you've narrowed down your property price and you've nailed down your budget, now it's time to find your location. So there are multiple ways of doing this. You can do your standard Google search and research the top areas in the UK to invest in. You can look at property podcasts, property videos, and you can also contact different people, blogs, and just simply get information from word of mouth. However, the problem is the most talked about areas tend to be the most saturated areas, and by this I mean there's already so much demand for certain type of properties like HMOs or buy-to-let, that once one does come on market, there's going to be so much competition for it that the price is going to be driven way beyond a profitable price, that at the end of the day your yields are going to be very low. And for example, I've even been to viewings in Liverpool where there were 20 people viewing that property in just one single day, and at the end of the day the amount of competition just drove the prices up that I just didn't get the returns that I was looking for, so it was not worth it. So don't get carried away just trying to win a property for the sake of it. Always keep your numbers in mind in order to win at this investing game. So what other ways are there to find your perfect location? Well, one is that you can use buy-to-let yield maps like this one from Totally Money. This one is from 2019 to 2020, and it shows you the different postcodes, the town where property is located, the house price, and the yield and the average yield for that specific postcode to give you an idea. Second, you can use property heat maps. These are becoming more and more popular, and there are several different versions of these online today. They basically give you an idea of the average price in that certain location, and also the number of properties sold within a set period of time, most of the time within the year. And these are great because they color code the different areas. So red is normally for an area that is very high in demand and very saturated. Blue is for the exact opposite, for an area that people are not really very interested in, and green tends to be a balance of the two, where you have demand and yet it's not oversaturated yet. So green is normally the go-to area. So essentially with the heat maps, you want to find a balance between an area that's not too in demand and not completely lacking in demand either. These are especially relevant for flip, where you want to know if the house you're buying is in a good area and if it can sell sell very quickly. So if you see that the area you're buying in or that you have bought in has a high number of properties being sold every year, it's likely that you're going to be able to sell quite quickly in that area, which is great. So in this specific heat map from Property Heat Map UK, you can see the different postcodes, as I mentioned, and the average price in the area and the number of houses sold. And as you can see, the red areas tend to be the most expensive areas and also the most heavily saturated. The prices tend to be much higher than the dark blue and the light blue areas, and the blue areas tend to be much cheaper and have a higher number of sales. And the third tip is to find in-demand locations and just be patient in looking for deals. Now here's where research comes into play. So you want to go for areas that are not super high in demand, like London or Oxford or Cambridge, where prices are overinflated and returns are quite low. So for example, if you're looking to buy in a student area, what you want to do is essentially look up the top 100 universities in the UK and start at maybe number 10 or 20 and use the heat map to help you explore that area. And the next thing to do is to do a quick search on Rightmove or Zoopla to look for houses in your potential area that are for sale. Too many for sale should raise red flags, because why are so many people selling their house at one point of time in this area? Something is clearly off, so don't go there. And too few for sale should also be a no-go, because you just know that the competition is fierce and the prices are going to be unreasonable. And you essentially want to do this process for several different towns until you find a town that you feel is suitable for you. So once you think that you have found your potential town, now it's time to contact agents. You can either Google the top few agents or look again on Rightmove and Zoopla for the top agents in that area. And then you want to start contacting them and making friends. You can ask them for their opinion of the area, what the rental market is like, what the demand is like, and of course if they've heard of any good deals in the area that they can share with you. Most agents are super willing to help because it's quite a symbiotic relationship. If they give you a good deal, it's likely you're going to go back to them in the future for more deals, or you're even going to give them your property to manage. So it's a win-win. And I have got the best deals from agents directly, and these tend to be off-market deals, so before the deals even hit the market. And this often happens when the agents know of an existing landlord whose property that they manage, and they know that that landlord wants to sell the house. Then they contact the other existing landlords whose properties they manage, and they ask them if they're interested in buying this house that they know is going to go on sale. So essentially this prevents the property from ever coming on market and ever having the prices jacked up to an unreasonable value. And the reason off-market deals are great is because the seller avoids paying agent fees to the agent to sell their property, and the agent benefits, as in they often charge the future buyer a fee for finding them this great deal, and most importantly, you get a great price on your future house. So it literally pays to make friends with agents. So now that you found your area where the prices aren't crazy and the returns look good, now it's time to research the area a little bit to make sure you know what you're getting into. So here is where you want to look at different news articles of the area to find out if there are any potential developments happening in the future, or if any private companies plan on investing in it to create more jobs, or even if the government plans on investing money in that area. All of these things are great things to look out for, because it means that this is a great area that private companies, the government see a lot of hope in this area, hence why they're willing to put their money in. And if you see news of this, it's worth getting in early before that area gets more and more in demand and the prices go crazy. So to sum up, what you're looking for is good demand, not too crazy, not too low, good agents to make friends with, good population of future tenants, so these could be students or working professionals, and of course decent prices for the available properties, and of course long-term growth potential in the area. So that is the end of my video, guys, on finding your perfect location to invest in the UK. I really hope it was helpful. These are the strategies that I use myself when I'm looking for a new area to invest in, and that I've used in the past to find the existing areas that I have invested in that have been returning quite highly. So definitely let me know if you found these tips helpful, and if you have other suggestions as well. And if you did find this video helpful, please do like, subscribe and share. And as always, thank you so much for watching and for your constant support, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye guys!